Hi, my name is Mike. I'm going to show you, if you're like me and you have good gloves, or your children, your boys have good gloves, or even your daughter, it's important to make or have a mold to go in the glove so that it will keep its shape. A lot of times kids throw their gloves in their bag, and it's just a shame to see to have your kid have a really nice glove, and when they throw it in their bag, it ends up getting smushed, and over time you have a glove that's pancaked or flattened out. So what we do is we have a custom mold that I make. There's companies that sell them online, but they got pricey. I have 3 kids that play multiple positions, so we have a lot of different gloves. It was going to be pretty costly to have to go buy a mold for each glove, so I tried to figure out a way to make them myself. So what you see here is this is a Rawlings Gold Glove OptiCore, somewhat very expensive glove, so I don't want this glove to lose its shape. This is the end product that I made. It's a styrofoam insert that goes in this glove. When he comes home, he'll put this in the glove, set it on a shelf. Or when we travel, he'll put this in the glove. Velcro strap goes around the glove. It could go in the back of the car, and I don't have to worry about it, or he doesn't have to worry about it getting flattened out. So I'm going to take a second to show you. This one's already covered. Here's one I made for another glove. Not covered yet. Okay. This is the A2K outfielder's glove that this goes in. So I'm going to just take a second and show you step by step how I went about making it. And I've done several of these. I've changed the process a few different times. And this latest process I came up with seems to be the best one so far. What I'm going to do is line this entire glove with athletic tape. Okay, the tape facing the sticky side facing the glove. And when I say line the entire glove, I mean every single spot. I can't have any spot showing, because when I go to spray the spray foam insulation into the glove, that stuff's really sticky and messy, and don't want any of it to get on the glove. And it's important that you really work this tape all along so that it's really fixed to the glove. You don't want it pulling away from the glove, because down the road when we go to put the insulation in, which you'll see, this tape has to be tight on the glove so that the insulation will really take the shape of the glove. The only purpose of this tape right now is to protect the glove from the spray foam insulation so it doesn't get on the glove. So here you'll see where you really have to work this tape and make sure it's snug is throughout the web, because there's some play in the web, so you want to make sure you're pushing that web out and getting this tape really fixed in here so that when we actually fill this thing, it fills this whole area. We don't want that tape sagging in this web. Okay, so you can see I have this glove. Is that lighting okay? Taped up really pretty good. And once you get it that taped up, you really got to work it in here and work it in and push it down so you can be sure it's sticking to the glove. Now, very important, and I actually lucked out on this. I was originally going to use duct tape, thinking it would be better and easier because it would stick better. But in the end, I lucked out. I didn't have any duct tape, so I used this athletic tape. And I think it was better because when all is said and done, and this styrofoam is dried in here, I have to be able to get this tape off the glove. So, because this is going to be a solid piece of styrofoam. So the fact that this tape doesn't stick that great was actually better and easier when it came time to getting it off. So I keep working this tape down, especially around the web where I need a little, or around the web where I need a little bit of shape. I got to keep pushing that down, make sure it's really taking the shape of that glove. Now, when that's all done, I don't know why I take a piece of tin foil, I shove it in here to cover that, because trust me, that spray insulation is really, really messy, and I don't know what would happen, how I would get it off the glove if I got any on there. So, put some, actually I didn't really need to put that tin foil in there. I'm going to put some tape across the opening where the hand goes to cover that. And then, I didn't tape this part of the glove. Grab a little piece of saran wrap or some kind of whatever you want to use. As my wife's going to yell at me because I'm wasting it. Cover the back side with this. I will tape this up, make sure there's no openings at all on the glove, and then we'll go to do the insulation spray foam. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, now that I have the glove all taped up, ready to go, saran wrap on the back side, so there's literally nowhere on this glove that I could get any of this insulation. Maybe somebody has a better idea. What I have is there's two kinds of great stuff, spray foam insulation, okay? One of them is expandable. The other one is more of a, hardens much more. I'm actually going to use both, okay? But what you're going to see is I'm going to do layers, thin layers. I have in the past, let's see if I could do this. In the past, I have just taken this insulation, sprayed, filled the entire glove with it because it really expands, and then when I'm all done, when it hardens, I just shave it down. But what I found was there would be sometimes a lot of voids and gaps in there, and I would have to poke some holes and maybe fill it a little bit more. The last couple gloves I did a little differently. The last couple molds, I did this in very thin layers. So, a couple other things. Sometimes when you're all done, I may have to, or I have had to, maybe sand down a couple spots if I felt like it, or maybe when it was all done, I thought I wanted to have a little more of a flare, so I would add a little bit of insulation on the outside here to make an extra little flare out. Either way, the bottom line is I would use a palm sander to put some finishing touches on it. Or if for whatever reason, when I peeled this off, I took a chunk with it and I had to fill some back in. So because of that, the insulation that spray or that finishes a little more rigidly is the one I'll use for the first layer, because on one of the gloves I used this more expandable one for the entire thing, and then when I had to go sand it, it wasn't easily sandable, if that's a right word. So the red one sands much better with a palm sander. Okay, so as I'm going to spray this in, remember, this stuff is very, very messy. You want to use gloves. I only have one glove on me right now, because this is the one I'll handle the baseball glove with, and if anything, that's the one I'm going to get the insulation on. Remember, this stuff expands a lot. So very thin rows, and it doesn't matter if I go over the glove, because the glove is protected, and I'm going to shave it off later with a knife or a sander. So I'm going to start by just doing one thin layer on just one half of the glove. Pause. So I don't know if you noticed or not, I accidentally started with the blue can. No big deal, I didn't get enough in there, so I'm just going to finish with the red kind. Very thin. Very thin. Overlap. Can you just show, can you see how it's overlapping there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, as you can see, that's very thin. Now be careful, because this stuff still, can you show this? This stuff still keeps oozing out. So I take that off, I put a screw in the end. Here it is. Put a little screw in the end of that cap so that stays good. Now this is the really crazy thing. This stuff is so nasty that you can't reuse the nozzles, okay? So what I do, because I'm going to have to do this in, who knows, 4, 5, 6, 7 different layers, buy some brake cleaner, spray the nozzle off, spray it in there, this little nozzle here, okay. Even there's sometimes still a little residue in there that'll expand. So what I do, got a little piece of metal or a piece of copper wire, I just stick it in this tube, and then later when I'm ready to use it, I'll pull this tube out and whatever gunk is in there will come right out with it. So I'm only doing half the glove for now. I'm going to wait till that dries a little bit. It's going to expand. Then I'll flip the glove over and do the other half. Okay, so this sat overnight. You can see it's nice and firm. But what you need to do here, in case if you put it on too thick, you have to excuse me, I just got back from the dentist. If you put it on too thick and maybe it didn't firm up enough, you might have some soft spots. So what I do is I'll feel for some soft spots. If I might poke a little bit with a little probe, and if there are some soft spots, I'm going to actually shake this up, put the nozzle right in the hole of the soft spot, put the nozzle right in that hole, fill it up, let it dry, and then once it dries inside there, I'll add more to here. So I don't have any soft spots here. Maybe this one's a little. So let me put a little in this one. Again, remember it's going to expand. Put it in there until it oozes out. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, because I had to put so little in there, I'm not going to worry about letting that harden. Now I'm going to fill the rest of this glove. I want to get this whole inside filled to this point. Okay, so I'm just going to add some more in here, and I'm going to do this in a couple steps as well. Put some in here, let it dry, and then come back and add more to it later. Stick this nozzle way down in all the crevices. Again, just doing one half of the glove. Then I'll flip it and do the other half later. Not worrying too much about going too much over on the sides because I'm just going to shave that and trim it later. There you have it for now. Okay, so I let it dry. You can see how much it expands. And this is the edge of the glove here. It's expanded that much out there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab I use a hacksaw. You can use anything really to trim it. Something serrated. I'll literally just follow the outline of the glove. Be careful not to hit the glove. And I'm just going to trim off the excess. I'm not going to bore you with this whole trim, but this is what I'm going to do for a minute, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I got it. I have it trimmed up. As you could probably see, either I started to trim it too early before it was all dry. Maybe I should have let it sit longer. See, there's some voids in here. So what I'm going to do is poke a little bit. There's the voids. And see where all these voids are. Okay. And then I'm just going to do like I said. Stick this right in, down in the hole. Fill the voids until it oozes out a little. Enough there. Wow, this one's deep. Fill all these. Again, I'll trim this when I'm done. Okay, that should do it. Oh, one more there. Double check in here. That should do it. Let this sit for a little while. I mean, really, you should let it sit for 6 or 7 hours. So I probably got back to it a little too soon. I'm going to let this sit overnight and trim it up in the morning. Okay, so I let it harden again. There you go. You can see how where I filled those holes or voids, it really expanded again. So I'm going to trim that up again. Okay, so I don't know if you can see there's still a void there. Again, maybe I didn't wait long enough, I'm not sure. But that'll harden up, it just needs a little more time. I'm kind of anxious to get this glove out of the tape here. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this all off. And I would say Well, we'll see. Hold on. I really put a decent amount of tape on here. The key, I think, when you're actually taping the glove is to do the first layer all in one direction, either across or lengthwise, so it's easier to pull it apart when you're done. But let's see how this worked out here. Gotta kind of work your way around the glove. This is a very expensive glove, so I'm hoping I didn't get anything on the actual glove. And you may even find when you're starting to get this out, it's possible you may crack the mold a little bit. Doesn't matter, because when this is all done and I start whittling it down or sanding it, I still may have to get the insulation and touch up a few spots. So, okay. So I've worked it all around off all the edges. There we go. It takes a little work. Voila. Now we're just going to peel all this tape off. Wow, this one came out really, really good. I'm going to peel all this tape off slowly. You want to pull this off kind of carefully, especially around the edges. You don't want to wreck the edges if you don't have to. Oh, this one came out excellent. Okay, so quickly, wow, this is really good. So if you look at this, can you even see how it's indented or protrudes here where the web was or is? This is literally an exact fit to this glove. I still have to trim it more, which I will do. But what I'm going to do is, you know, somebody said patience is a virtue. I wasn't patient enough. I was going to let this sit overnight, and I only waited a couple of hours. So that's still, I'm going to wait till tomorrow morning for sure to see if that hardens. And then tomorrow morning, I will get the sander out. I'll sand this all down, trim it, and make it an exact fit. So we'll see how this heals up by tomorrow. Okay, so filled the voids, let it dry overnight. It's all good. Now I'm just gonna, there was even some little holes on the top here and there. Every now and then you get those. I filled those in. So now I'm just gonna peel those or shave those. I might use a razor knife for some of the little ones. Okay. Hex off of this. Okay, so now I have it mostly trimmed. Shaved, I should say. Now I'm gonna take my palm sander and sand it down on the sides here. On not this part because that's all pretty smooth. Gonna palm sand this and this where I had to cut it and it doesn't look so great. Okay, I have it all sanded. Look how perfect this fits in here. Perfect. Perfect. I'll shave this down a little bit here. There you have it. And then what I'll do is I'll cover this with something. I usually go buy a women's stocking, put it over it, and put a zip tie on the end, but I'll show you that part when I get to it. Okay, so here we are, all finished. I'm literally gonna take a pair of women's stockings or leggings. Can you see that? And that's what I'm gonna use to cover it. Cute. So I will cut this. Pause. Okay, so I accidentally bought leggings that don't have, they're open on the end. You really want them closed-toed. But here's what you do. You're going to start at the big end. Pretend that was a closed toe. It's not easy to get this on here, but you're going to start at this end. Fight with it for a little while. Okay. Get it all the way on there. Twist it there, pull it back over this way. The stocking may have been a little too thick. Got it pulled back over. Now I'm gonna twist it here. Put another zip tie on here. And the reason you want to put it on the way I put it on, and going over the reason you want to start by putting it on the big side first, turning it and pulling it back over this way, is so when you end, you're out here. You don't want this knot to be in the back, and then it won't fit properly in the glove. So we trim this. Cut this, and here we have finished, perfectly fitting mold. Son comes home, this goes on a shelf in the basement, comes home from baseball, goes on there. We travel for baseball. If we're just going to a home game, he'll typically just put this on his bat that's hanging out of his bag. If we're traveling, we're going to be in the car, or maybe multiple games, a tournament, bring it like this, and we have a Velcro strap that goes around it, and there you go. It can go in his bag. You don't have to worry about it getting flattened out. So, all in all, one container of great stuff, spray insulation, $4, $5. Again, make sure you get the red one, not the blue one, unless you want your mold to be squishy. What else did we buy? A roll of athletic tape. Again, tape that's not extra sticky. That athletic tape is just enough to stick to the glove, but not sticky enough so that in the end we can pull it off. I don't know what that was, $4 maybe. What else do we have? A pair of stockings, $4. So all said and done, maybe $12. And we could probably do 2 gloves for the $12. Or you can go buy one of these molds from some of the companies that make them for $50 or $60. But for $50 or $60, I made these for 7, 8, maybe 10 of our gloves. There you have it. All done. Hope you enjoy.